Hi, this is Chad from Covert Reality. We are just looking at I'm in the middle of a library, silent room with glass panels around me, and I rent this room to do a lot of different things. But I finally brought my camera, so I just want to go over this, this is the Kitch'ner Wreckard, another paper locally that spews out the same kind of garbage. I just want to let you know what kind of stuff and viewpoints have been expressed here on November 11th edition of the Kitch'ner Wreckard. And I just want to say right here that this is about Donald Trump winning the election, saying that this is the worst thing that's happened in the world. This is what they were telling us beforehand, the Kitch'ner Wreckard. Whether you know what's going on in the world or not, you're not looking hard enough. And, I do want to just say that this article here is a reason why I made this video. In a pile of depressing news from the United States, this is the worst, okay? And so they're just talking about that when he's elected, he's going to be throwing out the carbon tax and calling it a fraud. And this lady here is saying that's the worst thing in the world. How dare them? So let's go through this. Just want to let you know this is what they're saying here. Yes, he can. I guess that's how it starts off. The worldwide effort to limit man-made climate change can and will be brought to a screeching halt by one man, President Donald Trump. He's going to withdraw the United States from the Paris Climate Agreement as soon as he comes into office, predicted Blair Feldmate. Okay, predicted Blair Feldmate. All right. Now, Blair Feldmate's someone I've confronted face-to-face right before a lecture. We stepped outside of his lecture and we talked. It was a decent 20-minute conversation. I told him that geoengineering, this was about, it's 2016 now, that must have been like 2013, 2014, around there. And I spoke to him face-to-face and said, listen, do you understand what geoengineering is? And he goes, yeah, I want to know more about it. And I thought that was interesting because he heads a paper that has an actual reference to James Lovelock, the founder of the Gaia theory. In the foreword of one of his documents from the University of Waterloo, Blair Feldmate is one of the names, and I think Dr. Jason Thistlethwaite, something like that. Anyway, I might have got that name wrong. Hopefully not. But these guys were involved in a document that it was climate, something to do with adapting to climate change. And you can still check that out, University of Waterloo PDF documents, where the foreword says by James Lovelock, it says something like, geoengineering, which hasn't been tried yet, not even on a pilot scale, is putting particulates in the atmosphere, but they're saying it's not been tried yet. See, that's when they say it's not been tried yet, they're guilty, because it has been. We've been dispersed upon. I've been witnessing it for 10 years now. So this lady here, let's moving on here. Okay, so Blair Feldmate predicted that as soon as Donald Trump comes in, that he's going to withdraw, and you're darn right that Blair Feldmate's going to predict that, because he's somebody that's going to be afraid of that because he could be prosecuted. Now, this is I'm not even just saying that. These guys are the ones involved. I talked to Blair Feldmate, asked him if he knew about geoengineering. He didn't know about geoengineering, he said, and he'd like to know more about it. I sent him a follow-up letter saying, hey, I really want to let you know that this time when I came to videotape you, I didn't videotape you, and I told you that I really wanted to, but I thought out of respect I would give you a chance to just talk without that video camera, and he literally said he didn't know much about geoengineering, wanted to know more about it, but he has documents that have forwards talking about geoengineering, everything about them. But these guys are just, all of them, pretending that the spraying isn't already happening. They're testing it in our atmosphere, okay? So moving on, I just wanted to say that. So that's predicted by Blair Feldmate, a scientist and former vice president of the Bank of Montreal. It's interesting. And who heads the Intact Insurance is what it was called. It was an environmental insurance company. Now it's heads the Intact Center on Climate Adaptation at the University of Waterloo. So the document that he forwards is not forwards that he actually wrote, is about adapting to climate change. So intact insurance is about to make money off if anyone has their roofs blown off or anyone that's flooded because due to the climate change is made by geoengineering experiments. And no one's talking about that, which is eerie. Okay, no one in the major media or even in the independent media is talking about it. And I know the military definitely don't want anyone to know about it because then they'll feel like they're just got to take people out. We don't want that to happen. We honestly just want you to just stop doing the operations and just, we understand that you have the technology to do what you can do and play with the weather, we get it. You can also take us out by spraying anything in the atmosphere, call it, thunderstorm asthma, and then just pretend it's something that's just a normal thing that's coming out, but you're literally dispersing this. We were all afraid of this back when he started spraying us, that at any moment you could just put anything in a dispersal and no one would even know, except for when people died and called it thunderstorm asthma. Okay, so Vice President of the Bank of Montreal, Blair Feltmeade, who heads the Intact Center on Climate Adaptation at the University of Waterloo. I'm glad that that's not Intact Insurance, but that's what it is. The United States is the second largest contributor to greenhouse gases after China. If it withdraws from the international agreement, the goal of limited temperature increases to 1 degrees Celsius will be nearly impossible to achieve. Okay, I'm just going to say this. It's been called out as a total fraud. It doesn't matter. It's just not even going to do anything. And even if it does, money's not going to change it. So it'll cause the planet will heat up. No, that's ionospheric heaters, ma'am. Just letting you know, ionospheric heaters, okay, are actually doing a lot of things. Polar ice will melt. Well, that's because they've already done experiments and melted it to get to the oil, causing sea levels to rise, which is, it's not happening right now, and put low-lying cities and farmland underwater. This is the whole thing I wanted to mention. These guys are using fear-mongering tactics to force us into feeling that we should just pay for this so someone will fix it, when it's all just made up and hidden by geoengineering experiments already happening. While the news media fussed about details like Trump refusing to release his tax returns or his crude and vulgar talk about assaulting women, see, this is the thing, like it's all been proven that he's not doing these things. But this lady here in Kitch'ner, Waterloo gets to speak and say this to our public, it's her opinion. Well, when your opinion is far off from reality, you need to dismiss yourself from writing articles here. And you should be held accountable, and the paper should be held accountable as well. I'm sorry, but this has gotten to be where it's getting ridiculous. You don't want to know what's going on in the world, then you go check it out. But if you do, and you're lying to the public, you're going to be held accountable. While the news media fussed about, so they talk about assaulting women, there was little coverage of his complete disregard for the coming environmental catastrophe. See, this is the thing, for the coming. Like it's coming, it doesn't matter now. It's like we've been told by the military, and everyone, it seems like this, that everyone's been told by the military, everybody, at the highest levels, that they're just going to do these operations, and if people have a problem with it, then they're going to die. And I'm not even kidding, because no one's talking about this. No one's talking about geoengineering, the experiments they're doing. And they're saying here that there's going to be a coming environmental catastrophe. Yeah, because they're spraying the atmosphere so much right now. The blips we're seeing actually on radar over the years are literally preset coordinates that are later to be, triggered whenever they need to be focused on. And it's funny that a lot of the weather-modified, experiments in the recent times, is with the Dakota pipeline. There was weather modification stirred up using the Great Lakes moisture, and a system was brought up and curled right over top of North Dakota. It just happens to be that 6 to 8 years ago, I used to have all sorts of video evidence of radar analysis of blips that were appearing in North and South Dakota, like right in the same spots. I was wondering, why are they always happening here? I realized, maybe they are preset coordinates to later trigger off when they can, a natural system comes through, they can spray it, make it more intense, and literally work with it and make us all conductible by spraying it through it and using it as a weapon. Now, that stirred my attention a long time ago. So if when you understand the actual military science behind it, you wouldn't write articles like this. So it's talking about putting down Donald Trump. Okay, now this is just the rhetoric that's put out all over the place at the time. Now I'm just going to say this was November 11th, okay, this paper, so I'm running behind here, but I'm just catching up because I want people to know what's going on in the Waterloo region, in Cambridge, Southern Ontario region with their papers. So they're just putting him down here, and he's been proven to actually be a great person. There was little coverage of his complete disregard for the coming environmental catastrophe. Okay, so what is that coming environmental catastrophe? Besides the fear-mongering version, you say, the science is abundantly clear and well established that man-made climate change is real. Okay, so you just lied there. The science is not clear, and the Paris climate agreement wasn't an agreement, and there was no legally binding agreement made there. So this statement is false. Moving on. So this is Blair Feltmate saying this too, which is really kind of creepy, you know. It is. It's really creepy. So abundantly clear is this is what Blair Feltmate said, and I've already confronted him years ago on geoengineering and what it does. Okay, he even was supposed to go to Istanbul to a security briefing, and he didn't go. My mom said that she saw on the news it said Blair Feltmate, but it wasn't him. That was the picture above the name title. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. Maybe he's a little bit threatened. He doesn't want to go because people know that he's a science fraudulent guy sitting there making money off of everyone and being a professor teaching the kids that nanotechnology is something that's a neat thing going on, but people have to understand it's been dispersed into our atmosphere. Okay, we have to understand that. And they're not telling the kids that. So no, Dr. Blair Feltmate, the science is not abundantly clear and well established that man-made climate change is real. So again, sir, this is November 11, 2016. You're still going on with that rhetoric. You're going to be held accountable for it. Feltmate said, okay? But Trump thinks the concept of man-made climate change is a hoax that was created by and for the Chinese in order to make U.S. manufacturing non-competitive. Okay. Now, climate change is a hoax. And I'm not sure if it was made by the Chinese, but I know that they called the smog there smog for a long time, but they were literally spraying their people. So there's a little bit of a truth in there. In order to make the U.S. manufacturing non-competitive. Okay, so yeah, that would mean that you'd be able to take over and totally strip over everyone's sovereignty into policies that would bind you limited. We don't want that. Okay, he tweeted on November 6th is what Trump said, and he's probably, he's right about that. Accordingly and disastrously, he plans to increase exploitation of shale oil and natural gas reserves in order to create well-paying jobs for Americans and reduce the nation's dependence on foreign oil. That's a temporary move, ma'am, okay? So we don't want to pull the plug, and we need better energy sources, so we're just aiming for that instead of being caught underneath this climate tax scam that a lot of people are going to be held accountable for. He will encourage more coal mining, too. And just to remind everybody, this article is about bashing Donald Trump, and he's already won, and everything's been proven he's not been a bad person. He will encourage more coal mining too, and he'll eliminate President Barack Obama's federal subsidies that support technology development for energy efficiency and renewable power. Okay, that's all about Agenda 21 programs, about heating the ionosphere and blaming the public for the damage. Okay, that's just and spraying the planet with aluminum isn't helping either. So thanks, military science and media and administrations and police for going along with this, even though there's good men and women underneath all those uniforms and suits. Governing is not the same thing as campaigning. Trump now has to show he can keep the grandiose promises he made. And he has, even before he's even been in. He's even made amazing changes, and people are signing on. Economy's developing, stock markets are rising. There's no hiding the fact he's doing great now. So again, this is a month old, this paper. Exactly a month old, actually. This is November 11th, it's now December 11th. And that is no easy task. He said he would renegotiate the North American Free Trade Agreement. See, that's amazing he's doing that, because that's hiding us under major foreign policy that's, caused G20, that caused all these different riots and for the military on the rogue side of the militaries to work together on each side of the border to be nefarious with the public. That includes a lot of funding within that. So renegotiating North American Free Trade Agreement is making sure we keep jobs here, making sure everything's said and done appropriately and there's no nefariousness done within the business. He vowed to scrap Obama's health care plan and replace it with something else. But both these projects will take time and skill. His supporters want good news right away. Now, how easy would it be to just turn his back on the Paris Accord? It's not binding after all. You're right. It's non-binding after all. Okay, so they do admit it here. It's non-binding after all. And he doesn't have to replace it with a better idea. Okay, so I'm just going to, there's nothing to stop him, said Feltmate. Okay, so it's good that he knows it's non-binding. I said it on the radio. This is interesting because I was saying this on the radio all summer. And this is Waterloo Region. Covert Reality 100.3 FM is what I was on. And they literally did whatever they could as flying monkeys to get, or Dan Keller was the main flying monkey that got me off of the station after 6 months and 24 episodes. I couldn't take it anymore. I called this guy out so much, Blair Feltmate, that he's saying stuff like the stuff I was saying on the radio, that there is no binding agreement after all. And so Feltmate's trying to get out of this. I'm actually proud of Blair Feltmate. I'm proud of you, buddy, because you're doing the right thing by calling that out and saying there was no binding agreement, because there wasn't. So that should wake up a lot of people right there. If there's no binding agreement, non-binding after all, then why are we being charged a carbon tax? So why are you even complaining that Donald Trump would not want a carbon tax? You just kind of messed yourself up right there. If that's actually a quote from Blair Feltmate. Both these projects will take time and skill. Maybe this was Luis D'Amato's thing, and if it was, then I'm glad that you recognize it was non-binding. So why would you write the article? There is nothing to stop him, said Feltmate. Trump is supported by Republican majorities in House of Representatives and Senate too. And yeah, that's what means you guys are going to be held accountable. Do you guys understand that? I hope the European Union realizes that too, because it's falling apart. Italy just left. Oh man. Okay, the rest of the world, Canada included, will inevitably follow the lead of the United States. Yes. Good. Here's why. In order to cut greenhouse gas emissions, Canadian governments are putting in carbon taxes. These taxes will raise the price of products that use fossil fuels. Okay, we're not getting carbon tax. You guys are vultures. If prices are high, the reasoning goes people won't use them and our overall carbon footprint will go down. But if Canadians have this tax on our products and Americans don't on theirs, we won't be able to be competitive. Yeah, you won't be able to be robbing the public. Okay? We want to be competitive in a way that helps the public, not that robs the public. We depend on trade. Yeah, on fair trade. Fair trade. If our prices are higher and customers walk away, we will start losing jobs. Okay. Yeah, that's if we go under your plan. You're right. If we go under the plan of carbon taxation, you're right. You're saying it right there. So why would you go against Trump then? If you're saying that if our prices, it says right there, if our prices are higher and customers walk away, we will start losing jobs. Right. So then why are you agreeing with carbon tax or defending it? Then the pressure on the government will be intense. Well, of course it will be. We should be, oh wow, we need to totally flush a lot of these people out. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says Canada's commitment to the Paris Agreement has not wavered, but it will. It has to. Wow, okay. So it has to is because he was under mind control in Buckingham Palace when he was a kid. At the same time, our Prime Minister Trudeau was raping us with a private banking system in Canada in '74. I'm going to end this off right now on the Kitch'ner Wreckard small little tidbit I wanted to point out. Thank you very much.